This is the Financial Beat, helping you hit all the right notes in your financial plan. So sit back as we strike up the band. The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler starts now.
Welcome to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at Regary Financial. My name is Ryan Stutz. Always a pleasure to hang out with Logan here, and we're going to talk about getting you to and through retirement. And first of all, let me give you Logan Sadler's phone number at Regary. It is 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. You call that number, and you can get a discovery meeting arranged. All you got to do is call that number and leave a message with your name and phone number, 888-823-PLAN. You'll get a call back, and then you can have your conversation with Logan, the same guy you hear on this show. Hey, Logan, first time we've talked in a week here, and I hope you're off to a good start in the brand new year.
Yeah, it seems like this year is going to be as busy as last year, and I think all of us could agree the years are just going by a little bit faster each year, which is good and bad.
Yeah, I know that things are really busy at Regary Financial, and certainly with you, and I know you picked up a lot of new clients because of the radio show, and really proud to be a part of that.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Yeah, it's been, like you said, this radio journey we're on here for us has been, it's been awesome. Been able to meet a lot of great people, and like you said, bring on a lot of really great clients and build some good relationships, and looking forward to continuing that here the next few years.
Well, not only does Logan have the radio show, but he's got YouTube videos and podcasts, and we'll talk more about that later on today. But I'm wondering if you saw this story out of Alabama for the new year. A couple in Alabama recently had a baby born on December 18th. Now, this is notable because both parents also have a birthday on December 18th.
Wow.
There is a 1 in 133,000 chance of three members of the same family ending up with the same birthday. How about that?
Yeah, that seems extremely rare. I actually have a friend, Ron. Him and his daughter share this exact same birthday.
Yeah.
So that's pretty rare in itself. Let alone for all three of them to have the same. That's awesome.
Pretty incredible stuff here to start the new year. And since it is a brand new year, welcome to 2023. And we have a new year checklist for you. With a new year upon us, let's run through the checklist of things that people ought to be thinking about as it relates to their financial plan. So, Logan, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Number one, this is not necessarily in order of importance, but I've just got some random thoughts here. One on my list would be tax withholdings. Good time to think about that, right?
Yeah, it always is. And like you said, the start of the year is definitely probably the best time to get on that. For those of you guys that are, withholding on your paycheck, you want to make sure you're having that right amount withheld in your paycheck to make sure you're not owing too much at the end of the year, but also that you're not getting too much back at the end of the year, right? So you kind of want to find that sweet spot, and the start of the year is typically a great time to get on that and kind of get with those numbers, and it can really make a big difference. And nobody likes to end up owing at the end of the year if we can help it. But again, you don't want to get too big of a refund back, because again, it might mean you're over withholding and maybe missing out on a month-to-month basis there on a little bit more money in your pocket.
Yeah, and if you get too much back, essentially what it means is you've let the government use too much of your money during the year.
Yeah, great way to put it. It is true, right? I mean, like you said, maybe you get a refund of, I don't know, $2,000 or whatever back. That's quite a bit of money per month that you were kind of giving them to, like you said, for them to hold on to it instead of you.
Yeah. Another thing on my list here would be retirement account contributions. Good time to get a good assessment of what you're doing and maybe see if you might make a few changes.
Yeah, that's probably to me, it's one of the most important things out there that a lot of people don't really assess on a yearly basis, but it's a good time to take a look at how much you plan to contribute to your retirement accounts this year. If you've been maxing out your current accounts, is it still in your best interest to do that? And maybe if you've been contributing just barely a little bit, maybe it's time to start bumping those up and increasing it this year. And some of us out there might be guilty of we haven't started one at all, right? So It might be a really good time to start putting away some money, and this might be a good year to do that. it's always really important, Ron, when you're looking at those. We always tell our clients, every year you should be trying to put a little bit more money away, right? Maybe it's in the retirement accounts or other investments or wherever it's at. You want to make sure you're putting a little bit more money away each year, and definitely can make a big difference over the period of time. And again, we did a couple times, we've talked about the increases for 2023 for 401ks, IRAs, and stuff like that. So for those of you out there that were already maxing out before, take a look at those contribution limits, because they have went up for 2023, which is exciting news.
Well, we talked about taxes already, tax withholdings, but April 15th is not really all that far away, and it might be a good idea to go ahead and jump on that, pulling your information together a little early. Get a head start.
Yeah, hey, who doesn't love a little head start, right? Like you said, Ron, you got some time, but why not start now? I'm telling you, your tax preparer, your CPA, whoever does your taxes will be more than thrilled that you have everything gathered up and organized. Me and my wife, we kind of have like a little folder, we call it, where basically throughout the year when we're getting tax documents or, having to keep receipts for something or whatever it is, we kind of just throw everything in there. It's not as organized as I might like it, but I know everything's in that one folder, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a good way to kind of do it. And I talk, we work with obviously a lot of different CPAs and tax preparers around the area here, and it's interesting because we hear some horror stories, right, where people come in and they got one piece of paper and they're looking to file their taxes, and they might not have everything in order, might not have all their 1099s or whatever it is they were supposed to have. So I think it's a great time, start of the year, write 2023 tax folder, start kind of getting things together, as well as for 2022 for when you're ready to go in there and file last year's taxes.
I know oftentimes you talk about taking a deep dive into someone's portfolio and, taking a good overall look at things. And this is a good opportunity here at the beginning of the year where you might have a little extra time to take a look at your overall retirement health. And that certainly would be helped along with the conversation with Logan Sadler.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. Like you said, a lot of people are in goal-setting moods right at the beginning of the year. So if you haven't put together a true retirement plan to help really clarify what your goals are, I think now is obviously a great time to kind of get started, especially the more important if you're getting ready or getting close to retirement. Maybe you're retiring in the next decade or so. That might seem like a long ways away. You might be 50 years old or 55 years old, but I will say that approach is rather fast. So it's always a good time to kind of start getting things together and start that plan. As well as maybe if you already have a plan, right? This might be a great time to really take a look at where you stand, and is there any tweaks that I could make or, different adjustments that might make a huge difference. Maybe you have too much risk in your investments. Maybe you're not looking at things as tax efficiently as possible. And, maybe there's a really good idea that you've been putting away money and things are on track, and maybe you'd be able to even retire earlier than you might have thought, right? So it's always a really good time to take a look at things, and we always say a second opinion or a review of your current plan never hurts, and that's obviously what we do here at Regary Financial. We've been around for a long time, and we help people plan and prepare to get to and through retirement. And we do the radio show each week to bring you here some education and some good general knowledge, but also we offer that discovery meeting. So those of you guys who have taken advantage of it know you probably walked away with some value, where you get to come into our office or via Zoom or a phone call, and we could kind of sit down and go over what it is your situation looks like and kind of tell you a little bit more about our firm, about how we work, but also take a deep dive into you and seeing if we can bring some value to you and your family, and maybe we're a good fit and maybe we can work together. But if not, you'll walk away with some knowledge and some value.
If you'd like to take advantage of that opportunity, all you have to do is call this number, 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-7526. That number is for Regary Financial, serving you with two convenient offices, Hemet and also Redlands. And you can get a conversation going, a discovery meeting, as we call it. Have a conversation with Logan about your situation. You're under no obligation whatsoever, and it's not going to cost you a penny, so why would you not take advantage of the opportunity? It's not necessarily a New Year's resolution. We often make resolutions, and then, 2 weeks later, they're all broken. But, it is a good time to jump on this and maybe make some changes in your financial life. And there's nobody better than Logan Sadler to take an assessment of where you are and how you can get where you want to go in your retirement. One more time, that number is 888-823-PLAN. Call that number now and leave a message with your name and phone number. Ron Stutz here along with Logan Sadler, Regary Financial. We'll have more coming up in just a moment. You're listening to the Financial Beat.
We all know Congress has approved trillions of dollars in spending the past year with stimulus packages, infrastructure plans, and other programs. It's all on top of the tens of trillions of dollars of debt our nation already owes. Yet we're living with some of the lowest tax rates in history. Now, how long do you think that's going to last? Learn how you can prepare for future tax implications by watching Logan Sadler of Regari Financial's exclusive webinar, How Tax Planning Changes Through the 4 Stages of Retirement. Just text the word advice to the number 21,000, and we'll text you back a link to the webinar right away. Text advice to 21,000 and make sure you don't have to pay a cent more in taxes than you have to. To access the free webinar right now, text advice to 21,000.
1, 2, 3, 4!
When musicians are performing, they typically need someone to count them into each song. Without that count in, the musicians might be out of sync and the song could fall apart. It's similar to your financial plan. All of your investments must be in sync, working towards your financial goals. Keep listening to the Financial Beat and learn how to make sure that your investments are playing together perfectly.
And the beat goes on. The Financial Beat. Logan Sadler is on the radio. Go tell everybody you know. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call if you'd like to have a conversation with Logan. I get an opportunity to have a conversation with Logan every single week on this radio show, but if you'd like to sit down and have a one-on-one with Logan, could start with just a phone call or maybe a Zoom meeting, or maybe you might want to come into the office in either Hemet or Redlands. It's up to you, but 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to find out in a conversation if you and Logan are a good fit for each other. You might want to work together. It's totally up to you. No obligation and no cost involved in that discovery meeting either. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. You know, Logan, sometimes it's hard to get going in the morning, and I don't know about you, but I actually drink a lot of coffee these days.
I'm guilty of that as well. It's probably I probably do mainly water and coffee throughout the day.
yeah. I've got a cup right here with me in my hand as I speak. So
I'm holding cup number 2 of the day.
I read something earlier this week about how much coffee is consumed in the world. The world consumes 2.25 billion cups of coffee every day.
Wow. That's a lot of caffeine, right?
Really?
I'm guilty of at least probably 2 to 4 cups a day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you put your part in there of those billions of gallons of coffee, right?
yeah, absolutely. I do my fair share, and probably too much. But caffeine doesn't really have that much of an effect on me. But it's just the hot liquid that kind of gets me going. I know.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, especially as much as me and you got to talk, right? It's nice to kind of have that soothing liquid in there to keep your throat nice and moist and heated up and ready to go. But yeah, I don't get a huge jolt from it anymore, but I definitely enjoy it, and I actually look forward to it every morning. It's kind of one of the guilty pleasures to start the day.
Well, while we're on the subject here, how do you take your coffee? You drink
What's funny is I'll drink it anyway. I'll drink it black or I'll drink it with vanilla cream. It really doesn't matter to me much anymore. It all tastes good as long as it's hot.
Yeah, I just drink it black, nothing in it.
There you go. Yeah, if I'm feeling a little wild, I'll throw some vanilla creamer in it, which is nice, and then I could drink it black too. It doesn't matter much to me.
Yeah. Well, hey, 2023 is a brand new year here, and we talked about a lot of things that you ought to have on your checklist at the beginning of the year. But let's take a moment to look back at 2022. In some ways, it was a really strange year, but now that the dust is settled and the numbers are final, let's look back at last year. What was notable or surprising, and I'm wondering what we might be able to learn moving forward. One thing, stocks and bonds both dropped in double digits. They didn't just drop, but they really plummeted in some cases.
Yeah, that's a good word to use there. It was a pretty rare year for both stocks and bonds to be down in the same year. Mm-hmm. Right? And really, in fact, Ron, it's only happened 4 times since 1928. Right, that's a pretty rare statistic to throw out there. But 2022 was probably one of the worst years ever for a stock and bond portfolio. Yep. Right, it's amazing when you look at that. And I know we've talked about this before on the show, Ron, where viewers will write in with questions and they'll say, hey, well, I am diversified. I have stocks and I have bonds, right? Or I have a 60-40 portfolio. Maybe 60% of that is in stocks and 40% of it is in bonds, and I should be good, right? Yeah. Well, most of the time it might be a good way to go, but in certain circumstances, especially like this year, it was a pretty down year for mostly all those asset classes we just discussed. And it was really interesting because there really was no direction from either one of those that things were going to get better really heading into 2023. So to me, it's just super important when you're looking at a retirement plan. One of the things we like to throw in, Ron, and we talk about this all the time, a lot of the times you need more in today's world than just a stock or bond portfolio. That 60-40 portfolio typically isn't as well prepared as it used to be for retirement. So that's why a lot of our clients that are either approaching retirement or gearing up for retirement or maybe just started, we're having to use a lot of different other asset classes, like fixed annuities could be a good way to go, where it gets us some guaranteed rate of returns. You have CDs, you have fixed index annuities that can give you some safety and some protection. We use some real estate investments as well as structured notes, right? There's a lot of different ways we're going to have to diversify to try to generate, either some safety or some growth that we're looking for. That stocks and bonds just really didn't give us much of last year, but really bonds the last 5 years or so haven't been performing like we wanted them to perform in those portfolios. So it's definitely something looking into 2023. If you're one of those people out there that had stocks and bonds but were wondering, man, could I have done better, or is there different ways to situate a portfolio? Definitely think it's time to give us a call and let's explore some of those opportunities.
Logan, looking back over the last few years, really the housing market has been kind of crazy. I mean, people selling houses for hundreds of thousands of dollars more than they were asking. And
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's so many crazy things happening. And one thing that happened in 2022 to kind of slow things down, mortgage rates more than doubled during this past year.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like you said, Ron, I mean, we were talking about friends of mine and friends of yours where they were selling houses, and it was like, yeah, I want $400 for that house, and I went for like $475 or whatever it was, really? Right? Or even more in some cases. So it is crazy when you look at that, and it's something where it has just been on a hot streak since I would say 2018, 2017. Mm-hmm. But man, 2020 and 2021 were just red hot. Yeah. And like you said, with rates around 2 to 3%, it was very, very, there's a lot of reasons in your favor to buy. And now it's just seemed like, rates went from about 3% to around 7% in less than a year, which was a pretty big jump for a lot of people. And I think it's definitely cooled down the housing market pretty substantially. I don't think, things are at a halt or anything like that, but things have definitely came back to more of a realistic number as far as houses on the market and houses timing on the market. But yeah, it was, we could say historically that was probably one of the craziest, times in real estate where things were just flying off the shelf at record prices. And like you said, well above asking. And people were locking in these 2 or 3% or 4% mortgage rates. It's amazing when you look back in history. A 2 or 3% mortgage rate is about as low as you can get in the last 100 years, right?
Yep,
so
that's right.
Pretty cool to say you locked in one of those for those of you that did. But
yeah, and things were out of control there for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
it really was. And like you said, whenever anything slows down, right? We always say, "Man, we never saw it coming." But I think a lot of us saw that coming, where it was just things had to change a little bit in the real estate market as well as in this general stock market, because things can't stay that hot for that long, right? They got to go through these natural evolutions of cooling and heating up again. So we'll see.
And one of the things during this past year that a lot of people were really hot on, things, everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of folks were all excited about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. Yeah. I mean, man, I have seen a big change in the faces of and the expressions on the faces of some of those folks during this past year. How about you?
Yeah, I have. It's funny, you rarely, from a lot of our clients coming in, it used to be like, hey, what if we put some of our money into a cryptocurrency of some sort, right? Was that something we should do with retirement money? And, that was a big conversation for really the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And you really don't hear much of that at all anymore, right? and again, not saying you should buy Bitcoin or shouldn't buy Bitcoin, but just saying you definitely think it's been a huge shift in that type of sector. Again, it's very new, right? That we don't know a lot about that. We don't have a 20 or 30 30-year track run to talk about on cryptocurrency. So it's just such a new and evolving asset class. So we'll have to see how that shapes up. But yeah, Ron, it was definitely something where you didn't hear a lot of people mention that much, especially that last part of 2022. It was just one of those sectors that just, man, like you said, it went down and it just kind of kept going down. And really all of the major currencies had that same effect, not just Bitcoin.
Yeah. You're listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Vice President, Chief Investment Officer at Regery Financial. Wherever you are in Southern California, we appreciate your being with us today. One more time, that number is 888-823-PLAN. If you'd like to arrange a discovery meeting with Logan to talk about your financial situation as you talk about getting to and through retirement. Another big thing that happened in 2022, and I think everybody can identify with this, everybody who drives or depends on, any kind of transportation, gas prices went crazy. They went really, really high, and thankfully they've begun to come down some. And, that makes it really tough on everybody.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it really hurt to leave the house, right?
Yeah,
whenever you had to fill up. And I know California got hit pretty hard, but also even multiple other states actually had pretty high gas prices. And it was one of those things where we had clients, a lot of our clients that are retired, that are, big travelers in their RVs and things like that, or maybe even plane flights. A lot of them either, postponed that vacation or kind of restructured it in some sort because, it was just getting rather expensive to have to fill up the RV or the motorhome, even let alone those of us that still work. If you were commuting, I know a lot of people out in our area, we commute, from maybe, who knows, Temecula to LA or Orange County. And it was just, man, and you're stopping at the pump paying $5 or $6 plus per gallon. It was getting rather pricey. So it's definitely nice to see things come back down to, maybe not as low as we'd like them, but they've came back down to where we feel like we're getting a deal now, right, compared to a few months ago. So.
Exactly, yeah.
It's funny how they do that to us, isn't it?
It really is. You become, kind of... numb to it. And then when prices go down a little bit, you think, hey, that's a real bargain, but it may be twice what it was a year ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is. And this is not financial advice by any means, Ron, but there was a couple times I filled up at the pump. I didn't even look to what the ending price was, right? It was just like, man, I know it's not going to be pretty, but I need gas.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't have a choice. And when gas prices go up so high, it just affects everything. It affects, any kind of fuel increase like that. Increase in price is going to affect the trucks carrying stuff all over the place. It's just kind of wild,
It is.
One more thing I wanted to mention, and we talked about crypto a moment ago, but FTX was one of the biggest frauds in history. That was revealed during this past year, and it might be necessary for you to take a moment to explain exactly what FTX is and how that affected everybody.
Yeah, basically it's like Coinbase or one of those it's basically a big crypto exchange, right? So a lot of us that were buying crypto and stuff out there, that anybody that was in that market, you probably have heard a lot of FTX, and it was one of those that, again, it was one of the bigger ones, and it was something where it had some things not go its way and some fraudulent stuff be leaked out, and it was something where there was really kind of not a lot of information on it right away, but now we're starting to get more and more things coming out of it where, it's just not looking great. And there's a lot of stuff that definitely, I think, when people are putting money away and looking at these types of sectors and things like that, or, custodians of people that hold your money, I think it's super important to look at the track record, longevity, and all that. So it's just unfortunate, but there's a lot of things not going well over there for them. That's for sure.
Yeah, you need to know who's holding your money, and you need to know, if you can trust them. My goodness. And that's why it's so important to build relationships. And nobody knows that better than Logan Sadler. I know that you, work very hard to build a relationship with the folks that you deal with here. And I think folks just listening to this show, know what kind of guy you are. And, they have a head start in getting to know you and that kind of thing. And that's why the discovery meeting is so important, because you get a chance to know them a little better. They get a chance to know you a little better, and it all works out.
Yeah, Ron, that's really kind of our philosophy here at Regery Financial, is to, when we're looking at bringing on a client, or a client's looking on coming aboard with us, when we have that discovery meeting, I think people are kind of sometimes shocked that we get that deep, right? I think it's really important to we like to build more than portfolios here, right, or more than just a retirement plan. It really is about developing a relationship, one that's a trusting relationship, right? And we want to make sure, obviously, we got to build that trust. And so we like to start out by, doing our job, which is really making sure we're taking a deep dive into what your financial situation is, what your goals are, what your fears are for the portfolio, for your retirement plan, and really making sure we're building out a full comprehensive plan that, to be honest, a lot of the clients that come in or the prospects that are interviewing our firm, they don't have, right? They maybe have had a financial advisor or they don't have any plan at all from a financial advisor, and they're just really not in the best shape, or they don't really know what type of shape they're in at all because they haven't had someone really put those pieces together and take that full comprehensive approach and as well take the time to develop that relationship. So if you're one of those people out there that is, maybe getting close to retirement, maybe you just retired and you're looking around for a financial advisor or looking for a firm to maybe help guide you into retirement, I definitely think you give us a call and give us a shot. We'd love to spend an hour with you and really just take a look at what it is you've assembled, what your family's goals and dreams are, and just seeing if we're a fit to work together and seeing if we can't develop that relationship to help transition you into retirement.
888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN, your number to call for Regary Financial. Now, Regary has been around for a very long time, and Logan Sadler works with all three generations of some of the client families. Many of those clients have been with this firm for more than a quarter of a century. Now, that's a very long time. You can get a discovery meeting at no cost, and there's no obligation attached to it either. In other words, no strings. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call if you'd like to get in touch with Logan's office and then arrange a time to have a conversation with Logan. Probably we'll start on the phone or maybe via Zoom, connection that way, or maybe you might eventually end up coming into one of the convenient offices, either Redlands or Hemet. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make all that happen. Again, no cost, no obligation. You're listening to the Financial Beat, and the beat will go on in just a moment. You got Logan Sadler on the radio. We'll be right back.
We talk a lot about creating a better 401k, but are we actually taking steps to do so? Maybe it's time to stop talking the talk and start walking the walk. By texting the word advice to 21,000, Logan Sadler can provide you with his 401k action steps, a guide that provides you with powerful information that could potentially save you thousands in taxes and fees and put you one step ahead when it comes to your retirement. So text the word advice to the number 21,000 today. For this special report, text the word advice to the number 21,000.
It's getting to know you time.
All right, kind of an off-the-wall question here for you, Logan Sadler. Do you believe in life on other planets?
Wasn't expecting that one.
Nothing like throwing something at you, at random,
Yeah, no kidding. You know what? I'm kind of this mindset. The world is a big place. The galaxy and the solar systems, right? They're huge, and I'm one of those people that, it'd kind of be crazy to say there's not some other formation of life somewhere, right? I think that's kind of where I line up. Not going to say anything's impossible. I have no idea what that looks like, but I do think there's some form of other life somewhere on other planets. I would think.
Yeah, I would think so too. And with all the planets and everything out there, and you said the solar system is huge. It's hard to imagine that we're the only place where there's life. So
yeah, I think when you do a little bit of traveling, even in the U.S. or you go to other countries, it's like there's a whole other world over there, right? So it's crazy to think there might not be something like that somewhere else, but who knows where it's at?
Exactly. Hey, we have more intellectual conversations to have here coming up on the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. More coming up in a moment.
Do you ever find yourself skipping through countless songs trying to find the perfect one? Yeah, we've been there too, and know it can be frustrating. Much like skipping through the countless advertisements from other financial advisors, it can seem like there's so much misinformation. But here on the Financial Beat, you can rest assured we're providing you with the best information possible. So don't push skip on this show, because we have some important information coming up.
We are back now with more of the Financial Beat. Ron Stutz here along with Logan Sadler, VP, Chief Investment Officer, Regary Financial. At Regary, they deal with a lot of folks who are getting to and through retirement. That's what this show is all about. And they also have great partnerships with local CPAs, attorneys, real estate agents, mortgage lenders, Medicare specialists, all of those folks to help offer well-rounded guidance in all things financial for their clients. You've been listening to the show for a while. You know what kind of a guy Logan Sadler is. He would love to sit down and talk with you about your particular financial situation. And that conversation won't cost you anything, won't obligate you to do anything at all beyond that. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call if you'd like to make it happen. We call it a discovery meeting. You discover things about each other and decide if you are a good fit and you'd like to work together. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. I got an interesting quote here for you, Logan. Doug Larson. I don't even know who Doug Larson is or was, but he once said, if people concentrated on the really important things in life, there would be a shortage of fishing poles. And I guess what he's saying here is, you need to just stop and smell the roses and enjoy your leisure time, right? Or do you see it as some other way?
No, I think I kind of took that the same way you did, right? I think it's I think a lot of us are so busy either trying to, build a business, work for a company, work your way up, support your family, do all that stuff. I think a lot of us, sometimes we forget track of or lose track of what it is that's the most important, right? Whether that's what you're passionate about, your family, whatever that is, right? I think we're all guilty of getting kind of strapped down in life and things just kind of take it away, and next thing you know, all those years go by, and we wish, man, we would have went fishing a little bit more, or whatever it was you enjoyed.
Yeah, may as well take the opportunity to de-stress, and maybe that's something that we all need to think about here at the beginning of a new year.
Yeah,
hey,
I agree.
Logan, I know that you do this. You're quite a busy guy. I mean, you do this radio show every week, and you also have other opportunities to reach folks out there that you might not know yet. YouTube videos and podcasts available for everybody. Tell us a little bit more about those.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening to the show and like the show, you can head over to the podcast platforms, and it's uploaded on there weekly for you to check out. It's on wherever it is you download podcasts. That could be Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, and you can go over there, click on there, click subscribe, and you can check out. We have we're at around 80 episodes now, Ron, that are uploaded on there for you guys to check out and listen to them at your convenience. Again, whether you're on the road or wherever it is you like to listen to podcasts. And we also do the YouTube channel. So again, I like to kind of break things down a little bit more and take a deeper dive into specific topics like financial planning, retirement income strategies, tax strategies, stuff like that. So those of you guys that are more interested in that type of a format, you can head over to YouTube and type in again, The Financial Beat, and you'll check out all of our videos. And again, we upload to each of those weekly for you guys to get really up-to-date content and get you guys some good information out there for you to check out at your convenience.
More than 80 podcasts available?
Yeah, they're rolling out pretty quick, aren't they?
I think when we get done here today doing this show, I think I'm going to go listen to all of those back to back. So I'll see you in a couple.
Tell me if there's some things we need to do better.
I'll see you in a couple of years when I get through with all that stuff.
No kidding.
I think one thing that I've learned about you and getting to know you over the years doing this show, you always. You're sincere. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. And I think that's a good lesson for all of us. We found that for a lot of people, what they say is important doesn't always line up with their actions. And I thought today we could look at some examples in the financial world where you might be saying one thing, but your behavior indicates something different, and you don't even realize it. For example, there are folks out there who are clipping coupons and always shopping for deals, but at the same time, they don't really pay any attention to the fees that are in their investments. They don't even have any idea what kind of fees they have inside their portfolios.
Yeah, you're totally right on that. It's funny where that's typically a lot of the conversation with clients is fees and things like that. And I think the cost of stuff is very important to know, right? I mean, if I'm going to buy a cheeseburger, if I'm buying whatever it is, a new dirt bike or a car or whatever it is, right? Price and cost and commissions and fees, all that stuff's super important to know and to understand what you're getting in return for that cost, right? And I think it's funny because I had a client not too long ago that actually came on board right there at the end of the year. And it was funny because I was kind of going over with her, we call it our value proposition, which is basically kind of what we would recommend with her financial plan and also what we would do with that, right? What our commitment is to them as far as the financial planning, the annual analysis update and everything for their financial plan. And it was something that they had never gotten before. Yeah. And it was funny because I remember I always talk a lot about, what our fees are and what our costs are. I'm very upfront about that. And it was funny because she had said, well, why do you charge this? Why wouldn't you just charge this? And I said, well, if you don't mind me asking, what are your current fees? And it was funny. She's like, oh, I have no idea. Right. So it was funny. Sometimes people come in and they want to negotiate or look at things like that. And it's funny because a lot of times people don't actually even know what they're currently paying. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's just super important that a lot of people out there are getting a little bit more conscious of what they're paying. And I don't necessarily always focus on what you're paying. I would focus on what you're getting in return, right? What is the value you're getting for what you're paying for? Because I have a lot of people, I know a lot of different advisors all across the United States, and some of them charge a pretty hefty fee, but they provide a lot of value and a lot of service, right? So you're paying for more of a premium type of service than some of the other advisors that might charge a bare minimum, but they give you a bare minimum type of service or financial plan, right? So I think it's just super important to understand what you're paying and also making sure it lines up with what value you're getting in return, and as well as lines up with what your goals and what you need that advisor or that person to do.
I want to talk to you about buying a new truck. Boy, those things are expensive these days. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
but mine's well like buying a house, right?
Exactly right, man. Take out a mortgage on it.
Yeah, and soon you're going to need a 30-year truck loan.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, a lot of people say that they have a low risk tolerance, especially when they come to see you for the first time. They say, I have a really low risk tolerance, but when you take a deep dive, as you always say, into their situation, you find out that they're carrying a whole lot of risk, and they had no idea.
Yeah, back to our first segment earlier where, you talk about stocks and bonds. We were talking about how the, first time in a long time that they both were down in the same year. It's funny because it's had a lot of people kind of re-question their risk tolerance, right? Because they're like, well, I thought I was very, very, very conservative, but it turns out, my overall portfolio is down, 15 or 20% plus, right? And I think it's funny because a lot of the times, Ron, like we talk about all the time on the show, where people come in and part of our process is we do a lot more than just say, hey, here's where you should put your money. Before we do any of that, we got to look at what type of portfolio you have, what your risk tolerance is, and really do a deep evaluation of what that looks like. And so we run a risk report, and it pulls out all of your different holdings, whether that's annuities, stocks, cash, bonds, whatever it is, and it gives you guys a realistic risk tolerance report on that on your current accounts. And it's always interesting because part of our discovery meeting, we ask clients where they would like to be, where they think they are, and some other, evaluation questions on risk. And it almost never comes back in line, right? People are always blown away when they get the report back and they said they wanted to be maybe a 45 or a 50 on the risk score. And it comes back that they're maybe a 75 or an 80, right? So it's super important to understand risk. And I always tell people, we don't like to advertise like some of the other advisors do where, hey, if you're a conservative investor, come meet with us. Or if you're an aggressive investor, come meet with us. I don't think being aggressive or conservative is a good or a bad thing, but I do think everybody is different and needs to have the right risk tolerance in their portfolio that meets their needs, right? And so that's where we spend a lot of our time is focusing on what risk tolerance is comfortable for you.
You're listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Regari Financial, and we're talking about meaning what you say and saying what you mean. A lot of people out there you get to know for the first time, and they claim that they love their spouse, but don't do the work to make sure that they're financially taken care of after they're gone.
Yeah, it's always when you look at, obviously I get the the opportunity to look at a lot of different people's financial plans, different structures and everything like that. And there's not one right way, but it is interesting. I have a lot of clients that are married by the time they come meet with us, they might be married for 20 or 30 years plus. And, they don't have proper life insurance. So if something happened to one of the other ones, their financial plan would drastically change. They don't have a trust or a will in place, right? The other things also is they don't have a income plan that is built for the two sustainable lifetimes, right? So a lot of the times they take maybe single pension payouts. So they're getting a pension, and then if one of the other ones passes away, they get a huge reduced benefit, or maybe they lose it, right? They got a single payout only. And so there's a lot of different things where people, I feel, don't look at things from that full comprehensive view of, hey, what if this happens? How will he or she be okay? Also vice versa, because a lot of the times the income and the retirement plan needs to be built for two people, right? And so I think it's super important. You got to make sure you're doing the work and doing the actual financial plan to make sure that both of you are going to be covered for the rest of your life and covered for that next 20 or 30 year period, right? Because it's something where things change rather quickly. So you want to make sure both of you are covered and your financial plan's covering the both of you, even after one of you is gone.
Logan, let's say that I'm listening to this show and I call the number and get an appointment to, set aside a time for a discovery meeting with you, and the first thing out of my mouth is like, I say, Logan, I want to retire as soon as I can. But then we talk a little bit more, and you find out that I haven't actually done anything at all to put a plan in place. So, there are a lot of people who need to mean what they say, but also say what they mean, and that's just not matching up at all.
Yeah, Ron, you would not, you probably wouldn't be amazed at how many times I've heard that, right? A lot of us want to retire, and especially I see it a lot of the times as a lot of our clients get closer to the end of their working career. Maybe they're 60, maybe they're 55, maybe they're even 65, and all of a sudden they just know they're ready to retire, but they haven't really done the financials and really looked through what it would look like if they did retire, right? They haven't done a lot of the groundwork yet, or they're not working with an advisor that is there to help do that with them. So it's interesting because a lot of the times, like you said, Ron, and some of the first questions I would say is, hey, I want to retire right away.
Yeah.
Okay, well, perfect. Not a problem. Let's take a little bit deeper of a dive. What type of income are you used to living off of, right? Okay, I'm used to making $100,000 a year. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, what type of income sources do you have in retirement? And most people just go, well, I don't know. I got a 401k, right? Or I have Social Security in a 401k. Or they might even have, some of them out there might even have a pension, but they haven't really calculated what that would look like. What type of, is that relative to what they're living off of? Are they carrying any debt, right? What type of other types of situations need to be put into there, as well as things like their 401ks and IRAs. How much income could those produce, and is it reasonable over a long period of time, right? So a lot of that is what your financial advisor should be doing with you. And I always tell people, Ron, a lot of you guys that are listening to this show out there, if you're approaching retirement, maybe if you're 5 years before retirement, let's say you're 60, and you're planning on retiring at 65, it's probably a really good time for you to hire a financial advisor or find somebody that you and your family want to work with. A lot of the times you could be doing a lot of these different strategies like Roth conversions or just shifting portfolio risk, get things geared up for more income producing investments coming up in the near future. So there's a lot of work a lot of the times that could be done ahead of time, and typically the more time that we have to work together and to get things positioned properly, the better off it is typically for the client. So it's a very good time for those of you out there that are maybe 5 years or so away from retirement, or maybe a year or two even. There's a lot of things we could do ahead of time to maybe put you in a more optimal spot for a more smooth transition into retirement, to make sure that that when you're ready to retire, that your portfolio and your retirement plan also says you're ready to retire.
Well, if you would like to retire as soon as possible, don't just say that without having any kind of a plan. There's a lot of strategy involved. And as Logan just said, the earlier you can get in touch with a good financial advisor to talk about things, there's so much strategy involved and so many techniques that Logan can use to help you retire successfully, to make sure that you optimize all your opportunities and at the same time don't make any major mistakes when you're coming down to the end of your work life and you're getting ready to retire. The number to call is 888-823-PLAN. That is good for a discovery meeting. Just call that number, 888-823-PLAN. Leave a message with your name and phone number. You'll get a call back from the good folks at Regari Financial. You can arrange a time to have your conversation with Logan. Probably it will start on the phone. Logan will devote a few minutes to have a conversation with you to see if you can get some basic answers to some of your basic questions out there. And then if you'd like to move on from there, then certainly you might want to have a Zoom call or where you can actually see each other's faces, that kind of thing. And maybe you might want to come in one of the offices, either Hemet or Redlands. Logan Sadler will do whatever it takes to accommodate you. And again, the number to call to make that happen, there's no cost and no obligation involved here, 888-823-PLAN. Please write down that number if you haven't already, 888-823-PLAN. Ron Stutz here along with Logan Sadler, Vice President, Chief Investment Officer at Regari Financial, serving you wherever you are in Southern California. We appreciate your being here today, and we have more coming up in just a moment.
At the end of the day, no one truly understands your financial wants and desires better than you. That's why it's important to have financial independence. This means you can work when you want, you know exactly where your income is coming from, and most importantly, your finances are stable. If this sounds like something you want, well, text the word advice to the number 21000, and Logan Sadler and his team at Regari Financial can provide you with their free guide on achieving financial independence. The free guide will show you how to create an action plan for getting to where you want to be, It'll explain how to calculate a financial independence goal, and it'll define what an ICE egg is and why it's so important. Download it now by texting the word advice to the number 21,000. Again, text the word advice to the number 21,000 to gain your financial independence today.
Does it feel like you and your financial advisor aren't on the same page?
Not quite my tempo. Were you rushing or were you dragging?
Logan and the team at Regary Financial can stay in tune and on rhythm with you. Keep listening to the Financial Beat.
Logan, let's go to the mailbag here. We have some great questions from some of our listeners that have come in, and I know you love the opportunity to answer some of these questions that folks have out there. And for every question that comes in asking a certain thing, I always like to think that there are 100 people out there who also had that same question in their mind and just didn't get around to asking it. So, first one today is from Arnold, who lives in Orange County. Arnold says, Logan, how can I determine how much money I can leave behind to my kids without shortchanging my own retirement?
Yeah, that's a good question, Arnold. This is something we do quite a bit with some clients, right? Where one of their bigger concerns is maybe leaving behind a legacy of some sort to their kids, or at least whatever's left. They would like some money to be able to be left over to go to the kids. And there's no exact way to get an exact number amount, right? But one of the things we like to do is that it starts a lot with the financial planning, right? A lot of our programs and software we use when we're looking at a client's assets and what their income is going to be, a lot of the times we could throw in some projections that will kind of show, hey, if we spent this much money with RMDs and things like that, if we had a portfolio average of, a good case scenario, a bad case scenario, and kind of run through those different angles there, we can sometimes come up with a pretty good idea of realistically of how much could potentially be left over, as well as it's important to look at what assets we are leaving behind, right? Sometimes clients have Roth IRAs. Sometimes clients have cash, life insurance products. All of that stuff can be taxed a little bit differently. So a lot of what we do with some of the clients we're working with is that if we have their plan taken care of, right, meaning they're in good shape, we know that this is a good plan built to last. What we could do now is begin to look at tax strategies to maybe alleviate some of the taxes to the beneficiaries, right? So I think that's a lot of where a good financial planner, Arnold, should be able to kind of guide you a little bit and get you a little more on track and help you kind of get those questions answered to make sure that, again, you don't want to leave yourself too shortchanged and give away all your money, but you want to be able to, live off what you got and make sure it's a good retirement for yourself, and then maybe best position those assets to be passed on.
Arnold, this is certainly a question that deserves a longer conversation, and if you'd like that to happen, why not call Logan's office at 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN. You can get a discovery meeting that we talk about all the time here. That won't cost you a penny. Next question here is from Kimberly in Fallbrook. And Kimberly says, do you ever recommend annuities? As best I understand them, it seems that I'd just be turning over my money to an insurance company and hoping that I live long enough to get it all back. Okay, interesting question.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but I unfortunately, there's a lot of good things to be said about annuities as well as a lot of bad things to be said. And as we talk about all the time, Ron, I think annuities are one of those things that for some reason they've just gotten very, very confusing for a lot of people. And I think they're a lot really misunderstood in most cases. And one of the reasons that they're so confusing is there's so many different types, right? I always tell people saying all annuities are bad is like saying that all stocks are bad, right? Well, there's a lot of really bad stocks that haven't performed that well, and there's also a lot of really good ones, right? So I feel the same way about annuities. With a little bit of a disclaimer here, I don't think that they're right for every single person, but they can fit a lot of people's financial planning where they're, hey, we have a certain amount of money we have. Let's say we got $1 million. We have some clients that might want $200,000 or $300,000 of it in some different annuities, and maybe more in some cases, just depending on the client. But I think the most important part, I would say, Kimberly, is understanding what type of an annuity you're looking at, right? Because some annuities might be better for you in certain circumstances than others. There's fixed annuities that provide that more of a guaranteed rate of return, kind of like a CD. There's different fixed index annuities that could provide you some good upside of the market, but might have a cap or a participation rate. There's variable annuities, which most of the time those typically aren't the best case for most people, just depending on the circumstance. But a lot of the times you could use those annuities annuities for either income, right? A lot of times they provide a guaranteed source of income, as well as they could be a good market alternative. So they can kind of be designed different ways. So I would really think it's important to understand what type of an annuity you're looking at and making sure that it's in your best interest and making sure it fits your plan. That's one thing I always tell people when looking at annuities. We just got to make sure it fits your plan. There's a lot of insurance-only people out there that really push annuities and think that they're the only place to have all your money. But there's also the brokerage side of things where they think nobody ever should have an annuity. I think I'm right there in the middle where I know I'm insurance licensed, so I know a lot of the times annuities can be a good purpose, but also I believe in the market and other things. So it's all about finding that right fit for you and making sure you're finding the right annuity that fits what it is you're trying to use that annuity for.
And usually when you hear something negative about annuities, it's about a variable annuity. Is that correct?
Yeah, most of the time, right? When you hear really high fees, or you hear, really, super high fees, or you hear about a lot of market losses and things like that, 90% of those, 99% of those are going to come from a variable annuity. Yeah. The fixed and fixed index annuities can actually be rather simple when broken down correctly and looked at correctly. But again, you got to make sure it's the right fit for you. And they definitely, to answer your question, I guess more straight shot, they can definitely be a good fit, Kimberly, for some people, just depending on what type of an annuity you're talking about, as well as which company it's with, and all of that kind of goes into factor there.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, one more question here, and it's from Philip in Rancho Cucamonga. And Philip says, I was planning to work for one more year and then retire, but I'm now hearing that we might have some layoffs, and I could be offered a severance package equal to 1 year's salary. So that actually seems like it would be great news, since I was only going to work another year anyway. Am I dumb for hoping that I get laid off?
It does sound weird when you put it that way, right, Philip? No, I don't think it's crazy, but I think there's a lot of people we have that kind of go out this way, where they maybe done the planning and put themselves in a good situation where it seems like they're going to be okay if they retire. It wouldn't be bad news. But I think one of the things I would ask is you want to make sure that your overall retirement plan is still put together properly, right? You want to make sure, hey, what assets do we have? What type of income are we going to look like when we retire? Because after that first year or two, how are things going to look, right? I tell that story all the time. I had a client, unfortunately, came to us a little bit late, and she took a severance package that was like 1 year of pay, which sounded unbelievable, but unfortunately, she didn't have the right plan put together or the right assets to support income, the income she needed after that, right? She thought it maybe in a 1 or 2 year increment. So you want to think, okay, if I do retire early, how does this affect the overall longevity of the financial plan, right? How's my 401k going to support all my income needs, the Social Security, any pension, stuff like that? So it could be it could be a really good thing for you, but you definitely want to make sure you meet with a financial planner that could help run the numbers and go through all the different ins and outs to make sure it's in your best situation long term.
Yeah, certainly Philip and Kimberly and Arnold are encouraged to call your office and get a discovery meeting going, talk more about other questions they might have. And there's so many folks out there who have questions, and they can get some basic answers to some of those common questions by simply calling your office and arranging to have a discovery meeting. What's involved in a discovery meeting? When you talk to somebody for the very first time, what happens, Logan?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ron. I mean, a lot of you guys would like to make this very easy, and Ron gives that phone number out. And so basically what you do is you call the phone number and you leave a voicemail. So somebody will leave your name, your phone number, and leave a voicemail. And basically what happens is first thing Monday morning, somebody from our office gets in touch with you and schedules an appointment that works for you, whether it's via Zoom or in person at one of our offices. And what you bring there is bring all your financial statements, as well as bring a fresh peace of mind, right? A fresh brain. And what we'll do is we actually sit down and kind of go over what it is you're looking for. Because again, we think it's very important to make sure that we're the right fit for you, as well as you're the right fit for us, to make sure you're kind of in line with what it is we offer. And basically, we'll go through all your different goals, your different needs, do a portfolio review. We really do a lot of conversation back and forth to try to figure out what it is you're trying to accomplish, what your goals, what your fears are, and put together that customized financial plan plan and help implement a lot of those strategies that get you on track to get you to and through retirement. And maybe you already have a plan that was drawn up a few years ago, but not sure if it fits you currently with these current market situations. That's exactly what we do as well, where we're able to do a pretty in-depth review and kind of go over what it is you're trying to accomplish. I always tell people at the discovery meeting, we're not throwing around recommendations. We're not doing any of that. A lot of the times it's just kind of looking over what you have, trying to get a feel for what you and your family are trying to accomplish, and really make sure we understand what you're looking for and making sure we put the best plan put together we can for you and your family to transition to retirement and make sure you have that peace of mind in that next 20 or 30 years of life called retirement.
Here's a very important phone number. Please write it down if you haven't already. 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-7526. Call that number today. It is a number for Regari Financial. Simply leave your name and phone number in a message. You'll get a call back, and then you can have a discovery meeting with Logan Sadler, the same guy you hear on the show here and on the podcast and on the YouTube videos. It's all there. Logan Sadler offers you a conversation, no cost, no obligation. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. Remember also that Logan Sadler works with 3 different generations of the client families at Regari. Many of those clients have been depending on Regari Financial for a very long time to help them get to and through retirement. Logan Sadler, one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. And if you want to have a conversation with him, it's simple. Just call this number, 888-823-PLAN. Logan, it's been my pleasure to hang out with you for a while today, as always. And I know you reached a lot of folks out there, and you're going to be hearing from them. And until next time, have yourself a good week.
Yeah, again, appreciate your time, Ron. Appreciate everyone listening, and looking forward to being back here next week with another great show. I already can't wait, and hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Join us for the next edition of the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call right now for a discovery meeting.
The information provided is for educational purposes only and is not intended as investment advice for anyone. All information discussed is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. The views presented today are those of BD Financial Group and do not necessarily represent the views of AlphaStar Capital Management, LLC. The opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and do not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult with your financial professional before executing any financial strategy. Investment advisory and financial planning services are offered through AlphaStar Capital Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. AlphaStar and BD Financial Group are independent entities. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of the firm by the Commission, nor does it indicate that the advisor has attained a particular level of skill or ability.